Welcome to the Urban GardenHER YouTube channel. My name is Alexis and I am the Urban GardenHER. So today actually I'm excited because it's our fall November garden tour. We are at the 18th of November and it has been a very tumultuous fall so far because we've had fluctuating temperatures from as high as 80s to as low as 30s. And so we've actually just reached our most consistently cool temperatures for the past week or so, say about 5 days. And we've experienced what was, I guess, considered a freeze-ish temperature, not a frost, but it's been really cold, very chilling, and we've also had a rain as well. This is followed behind some extremely warm temperatures, which have been abnormally warm for our region. And so now we're settled in, which I think, into our fall temperatures, going into winter, but fall, we'll say. And everything looks really good in the garden right now, with the exception of a few pest issues, which I'll go over as well, and how to mitigate some of those pest issues. But I just want to give you all a tour of some of the different things that are growing in the garden, what I plan to harvest in the next week or so, because Thanksgiving is around the corner. So looking forward to being able to enjoy some of these different vegetables and leafy greens that we're growing as well. But yeah, everything was looking really good. It actually feels like it's in the 60s right now. I have like a little vest on and a little, like, sweater. I don't even know what we call this, two-piece fall set, which is pretty warm out here. It's not as cold as it was last week. Last week it was very cold for a couple days, and then before that I was in sleeveless shirts outside. So listen, my plants are probably confused, but let's see how they handle this confusing weather. We're gonna start with since we're already here, my Morris Heading Collards, which look so beautiful. They had a round of fertilizer last week, right before we had some rain, so mixed with that, and they just are loving this fall weather. The heat isn't doing a thing to them, and they're also mixed in with some kale tucked in, which I don't even know if it's going to get much sun back there behind this big old Morris Heading, maybe after I harvest it. But yep, it's back there behind it, mixed in with some purple top turnips, which I actually retransplanted or replanted after I harvested a round of the greens, and I kept the actual turnip and replanted it into the ground. So you see that it actually bounced back. It came back. Because the turnip was really small. So I was like, you know what, why not put it back in the ground? So it's doing fine. Some broccoli as well. And I feel like one of my broccoli heads, which I'll show you all, is starting to form a crown. But yeah, everything is looking really good. More turnips, kale, and then I have different kinds of herbs like some dill around my different brassicas to deter the pests. I mean, it's been doing a decent job. Not the best. It's not foolproof. I've had to come back and use some BT spray to get rid of some of the pests. But yeah, everything looks pretty happy. I think it's oregano that's around here. Yeah, oregano. One of my other beds has more herbs in it, so we'll take a peek at that. So this is the bed that has mostly brassicas, leafy greens, and herbs. So we have some cilantro that's growing well. Again, we've had temperatures as high as 80s and as low as 35. Not quite freezing temps, but yeah, parsley is doing fairly well. My snapdragon flowers have survived and doing well with this temperature and this fluctuation in temperatures, along with my oregano that's underneath there. And yeah, these are different cabbages. I have a Savoy cabbage here. I forgot which kind. It's like your regular cabbage, not ball head, but it's a cabbage variety that's there. And some turnips, as well as some lavender. Another snapdragon. It looks sad because I actually transplanted it from another area. But all in all, fairly pleased with how everything is growing. And of course, we have I've had issues with some different type of pests as well. You don't see any cabbage moth damage, but trust me, I've had to go in and hand pick them out, and I use some DT spray on some of my plants, not all of them, just a few, but picking them off has done fairly well, because of course, the heat attracted them a little bit. So yeah. But one of the things that did really became an issue is aphids, which you can see some of the aphid damage. I actually came around and sprayed it with some peppermint oil and a mixture of peppermint oil with some water and soap, just to be able to just mitigate this issue, because you can see it's a lot of aphids that was trying to attack this cabbage, and I just don't want it. It was starting to form a ball, and I wanted to continue to progress. So hopefully I'm gonna get rid of that issue and continue to spray. But that was one of the things that came up this fall, is aphids on this one cabbage plant so far. Cross our fingers, cross our fingers. I did see it starting to spread a little bit. There were some aphids that were on, you can see down there as well. Again, I sprayed this one too because I don't want it to spread. I don't want to have to pull this up, but if it gets to be too much of an issue, I might have to pull it up so it doesn't spread to all the other plants. But I'm spraying it right now with a mixture of water, some dish soap, and peppermint oil. And the dish soap is so that it can stick onto the leaves of the plant with the peppermint oil. And the peppermint oil actually kind of kills the aphids, disables them, kills them. So because of the scent being so strong, disorients them. And so that's how we're gonna mitigate this issue here. My strawberry plants are just, so confused. They're actually flowering. And I think I did see some actually start to form strawberries because this weather has been so warm, but my strawberries are hanging in there. They are perennials, so of course I'm not gonna expect for them to die. This one here is really, really thriving. But again, this weather's been so confusing, but they'll actually go dormant and they'll come back into, they'll go dormant when it gets really cold outside and the freeze comes, and then they'll come back in the spring. So I'm looking forward to seeing some strawberries then. This raised bed here had my tomatoes, which I took down about a few weeks ago because they were just wanting to hold on for dear life. They were doing so well, but they weren't producing a lot of tomatoes, but they were shading out this whole bed here, and it wasn't beneficial to the cabbage that was down here. Those are cabbage forming hopefully some heads, and they were just not really taking off because they were shaded out. And I think hopefully removing them allowed them to grow a little bit more. I did retransplant some of these blue curl kale here on opposite sides. They were in my other raised bed that wasn't doing much of anything, so I put them there. And then I have more snapdragons that are in the back, along with some lavender and some celery and chives. I actually have covered a lot of my beds with some garden straw, which I need to do here. I see some leaves have fallen, so I might just cover these with leaves. But I actually have some garlic here that I pulled from another bed that I left a year ago that are growing again. So I was like, why not put them here? Just see if they can just take off and just grow. So we're gonna hopefully have some garlic in the summertime, but we'll see. But all in all, like, our beds are looking pretty good. I'll show you one last one in this area, and then we'll go down to Grow Bag Alley. So here I have my purple cabbage, which I really hope that it forms a head. I really love purple cabbage, y'all. But it had a late start, had a lot of damage, being chewed up by a lot of the pests. But hopefully it starts to take off, and my kale is loving that location as well. In the back, along with this dill, it's just like, whew, we gotta do something with this dill because it's a lot. It's a lot, and I don't want it to go to waste. I moved some of the sage from a grow bag into this spot, and it's loving this location as well as this Swiss chard. But if you can see here, I'm so excited because I see some broccoli. Oh, wait a minute. I see some broccoli coming in there. Look at that. Broccoli finally starting to come in, you guys. I am thrilled. It will be my first broccoli of the season. Like, I have mostly like collards and cabbage in these beds and kale, but not a lot of broccoli in these beds. So hopefully, actually, no, I take that back. This is broccoli, I believe. Um, in addition to this one. So they're just late to start because, they were actually retransplanted here from a container. So everything is growing in really good. The fluctuation in temperature hasn't confused my plants too much. So nothing to complain about. I actually transplanted, or yeah, I bought these on clearance for 75% off. They looked so sad when I bought them, but they bounced back. These black-eyed Susan and echinacea plant, which are considered native to my zone. And if you all don't know, native plants are really good to put in your garden. They help, or flowers at least, they help to attract the pollinators that you want in your garden. They come back every year because they're native to your zone. They require less watering, and they just are, good for your garden. And so I was happy about this echinacea because, echinacea is good for other medicinal purposes as well. So I'm just looking forward to, seeing those thrive in the springtime when they bounce back. But yeah, they're doing fine as well with this fluctuating temperature. So I think the thing about native plants is, especially flowers, because I'm always buying like annual flowers, and they come back. They come in, well, they don't come back. They die, and I get discouraged because I'm like, this is just a long time just waiting for it to bloom, and then it just blooms and then dies. But with native flowers, they are great for attracting not just the pollinators. They're pretty as well. Some of them, most of them are kind of just like blah, but they're pretty as well, and they attract the pollinators that are adapted to your zone, along with the pests as well. So I'm starting to just reorient myself with getting accustomed to growing native flowers versus always having to buy or start from seed some annual flowers that are just going to die anyways. So yeah, I think I'm starting to like having these pollinators or these native flowers in my garden, just to see, how things are growing, and just less work and maintenance to keep them alive. So we'll see how they do next year. And you guys, I kept this lemon balm in this container here, and it's actually still coming back. And I'm excited about that. I actually am considering if I want to put it in like a bigger container. I don't think lemon balm is perennial in our zone, but at least the seeds, something, it'll germinate in the spring. But I have lemon balm growing in this container, and it's actually been alive, surviving the cool temperatures, the drop that we had, and the extreme heat. So, like I said, annual flowers that I have growing, I have some dahlias that I retransplanted. I don't think that those are annual or perennial to our zone, but I got them in containers, just see how they do. I'll be surprised if they actually even come back, but yeah, we'll see. Some mojito mint that's in a container. And mums, which are perennial, but I might keep these. Who knows? I might keep these in for next year because I'm tired of buying mums every year. And why not have them already just growing for the next year? So, when speaking about annual flowers, here goes my containers with all of my spring flower bulbs that I have did the lasagna bulb planting method, where I layer them based on when they will bloom and how tall they grow. So I have a bunch of these. I have tulips, dahlias, I have hyacinths. What else? Crocuses, some other stuff, ranunculus. Yeah, a lot of it. Oh, and saffron too. So just waiting for all these. I'm happy to see that none of the squirrels dug them up yet, which is good. Good sign. And last but not least, my glorious grow bag alley, which has been going through so many different changes this year. But this is where a lot of action is happening with my collards growing. These are the most mature collards that have been growing this season, and this one is probably my most mature, my most largest one that is growing, as you can see here. Making sure there's no caterpillars in there, because I had a lot that was picking off last week, you guys. But this one here suffered a little bit of damage from the caterpillars. As you can see, like these leaves they should have been bigger. The caterpillars definitely got to them, but I got to them too. Along with some of these red mustards that are growing back there. This is actually the second round of my giant red mustards. I had already harvested them, and my husband actually made some soup with it. And then I believe that's a cauliflower or broccoli. I'm not sure yet. Another collard plant, which had a late start because of some caterpillar damage. And then also tucked in there are some celery that I already have harvested. But a lot has been happening here. I'm actually just waiting on next week because I will be harvesting all of my greens for Thanksgiving. So I'm just excited about that, y'all. I've been literally looking forward to harvesting these along with my Morris heading collards over there in the back. I hope it's enough to make a nice little pot of greens, but we'll see, y'all. If not, it'll make a little something. We might have to add some to our pot, but it's something. I have another native flower here, the cone flower, which has is starting to come back here. This is creeping Jenny, which I had to find a location for that because it was in one of my containers that my flower bulbs, spring flower bulbs, was in. So I don't know if creeping Jenny is perennial or not, but it's there in that container. And then I also have my broccoli here, cauliflower, more broccoli that's growing. I'm gonna see if we have any crowns that are forming. I actually retransplanted this here chamomile because it was in one of my containers that I needed for my spring bulbs, but it's there. Sorry, y'all. I have to live in the city. Actually, uh, cool unknown fact, whatever, little known fact. Um, so we live like where we live in the city. We see the presidents fly over. We see like the three different helicopters, which is really cool. So if y'all ever hear me in a video and you hear that, that's probably what it is. Or also live in the city, so they might be looking for somebody. So who knows? Back to our regular scheduled programming. Oh, look at that! I'm glad I came out because I see. I don't know if I'm blocking the sun. I see with my eyes, my brown eyes, a caterpillar right there. You see it? Can y'all see that caterpillar there? Well, I'm actually gonna pick it. Oh no, it's two. Oh my gosh, it's two caterpillars. I'm gonna go ahead and pick these off, y'all. And a third one right there. I've gotten actually very brave to pick these off with my fingers, which I would have never thought that I would be at that point to do. As I try to pick it off, you see it? It's. I'm just gonna drop it and step on it. Exterminate. Yeah, glad we came out to just look at things. I'm gonna grab the rest of these off and just literally, you guys, like, if you're gonna garden organically, you're gonna have to get used to just removing these. I lost it. Caterpillars. When you see them, because otherwise you're gonna have to keep on applying um, spray and stuff on them. I lost the other one. And I don't want to keep doing that because I'm trying to be organic, y'all. I'm trying. But sometimes you got to pick them off. But how do you guys mitigate your caterpillars in your gardens? Like, do you all use spray? Do you hand pick them? Like, what's your preference? Like, I'm like a combination. I do a hybrid of picking and spraying. I try not to do as much spraying, but ooh, gosh, there's so many in here. Let me get these off, y'all. All right, so I finished picking off what I saw, at least the caterpillars on this here broccoli, but we're gonna go make our way around to the other plants. This is our cauliflower, which is taking a long time to grow. I don't know if these, like a lot of my broccolis and you see they're in containers, and they're not as big as the broccoli that's in the raised bed. So just make note of that when you're growing plants in containers. It takes a little longer. You got to like maintain them more, keep them watered. The soil will dry out quicker, but that might be why they're not as big. But I'm just curious though, because this has been taking so long. Like, do we have any cauliflower starting to come in? Let's just dig and see. I'm curious, and I think what looks to be. You see that, guys? I hope you can see that. Cauliflower is starting to come in. I'm so excited. So excited. I might water this, even though a lot of your plants in the wintertime do not need a lot of water, or in the fall. I'm going to water this just so it can get a little bit of nutrients to get bigger, you guys. It needs a little TLC. I want this to, grow. I want to get a cauliflower this season. That would be really cool before the first hard freeze. And then also some broccoli too. And of course, more caterpillars. So we're just gonna pick these off as well. But yeah, that's literally how I spend my fall in the garden. Just looking at things, admiring things, doing some pest management as well. It looks like the temperatures are not really doing much. Ooh, oh no, I lost it. Damage to my plants. Hopefully I didn't lose it. But yeah, so I said this is the end of the tour. Actually, it's not. My glorious little self-pollinating apple tree. This is actually, what is this? A Golden Delicious from Stark Nursery, along with some of my snapdragons as well that are growing in there, and some lavender, which are all perennial to our zone 7B. My sad looking green stalk tower, which I don't know what I'm going to do with this, y'all. It's some random stuff still growing in here, but I have not watered it, not one bit. But I do have a strawberry. Don't remember what that is down there. I think it's a kale something. I do have stevia still growing. I think I might actually try to propagate this or see how to propagate it because it's seeding right now, and I'm going to collect the seeds. And I also want it to continue to grow, but I do have some more stevia growing in here because I did plant some more seeds in there. But I don't think stevia is perennials in my zone, so I'm trying to catch it before that real hard freeze so that it will survive. I can continue to have it because this takes a long time to grow, y'all. From seed, it takes a long time to grow. But stevia is super great for teas. It's so sweet. So sweet. A nice little alternative to, if you're vegan, then having honey, and then also just alternative to just, white sugar or any type of sugar is stevia. The perennial flowers in my zone, hydrangeas in containers because I haven't found a home for them yet. I do have some peonies. Ugh, I don't know if they're going to make it, y'all, but they're there along with some more hydrangeas plants that I have in these containers. I don't know if these are perennial, but they're not very happy right now. And then I have some mint and some weeds mixed up in there. I need to weed this out because this is my dedicated mint container. I have some lilies, not calla lilies. I can't remember what kind of lilies those are, but those are also still growing in there. And again, I don't know if those are perennial or not, or annual flower, but they're there. And then a Gerber daisy plant that I got off clearance this year that really struggled because of the heat, but it looks like it's actually happy right now. So I don't know. I got to look up some of these flowers and see if they're annual perennial to my zone. Do you all know? Are y'all familiar with growing Gerber daisies? And what is it? Oh, I can't remember what kind of lilies these are, but you all can, comment in the comment box. Let me know what kind of lilies these are and if they're perennial. Will they survive a freeze? I know the hydrangeas should be fine. So, and also peonies. What y'all think? I'm gonna go look it up as well. But just some interesting conversation just to see like which flowers are annual versus perennial and what are native. Shout out to my red raspberry bush that's growing here, still hanging on in there. It has not produced any raspberries, y'all. And I'm wondering if I need to add a second raspberry plant here, like maybe over on that side to cross pollinate, but it definitely has not been producing. And I'm, looking up to see why, because it's really big this year. I know that it started off in a very small cane. So I think I read somewhere that um, raspberries grow on canes after they've been around for a year or so. So maybe that's why. But yeah, let me know in the comments what y'all think. Will I be able to get raspberries next year? Do I need to add some different type of fertilizer? I know acidic soil is what they like, but I'm hoping next year I'll get a lot because look at all these new canes, the growth that came this year, y'all. So that means hopefully I should get some next year. Let me know. Last but definitely not least, the front of my backyard with the Swiss chard that's growing here, mixed in with some radishes, some arugula, rosemary, some basil going to seed. What else we got here? Zinnias that are volunteer. I did start some more beets. So those are actually coming in. because I was like, the temperature was so warm that I was like, why not start some more seeds to see how they do? So we're gonna see how beets do. They're actually, um, frost tolerant. So we shall see. I do have bok choy that is starting to go to seed that barely made it. Some bok choy coming back in there. I already harvested some radishes, so those are gone. But I did plant more seeds here. As you can see, they're starting to germinate too. And then some random garlic because I had grown garlic here that I didn't harvest a couple years ago, and so they're there along with some of my basil and some dill. You guys, so that was the end of my November fall garden tour. And this has been a very interesting month. We've had temperatures from as high as 80 degrees and as low as 35. So this has been a very rocky, tumultuous November. But as you can see, most everything here is thriving and doing well in the garden. And I'm just pleased to be able to look forward to hopefully have some collard greens or some mixed greens to be able to eat for our Thanksgiving dinner. Y'all, that's been a goal of mine since this season started because I was like, I'm gonna have some collard greens to harvest by Thanksgiving. Last year, I didn't have them ready for Thanksgiving, but we had them ready for Christmas. So that is mission accomplished. But as you can see, I have some perennial native flowers that are growing here just fine. Haven't really touched them or done anything to them. There's even some annual plants that are surviving because of, again, the hot temperatures. And mostly all of my cool weather loving vegetables that actually you can see thrive between some cool weather and the heat. They're fine. Like my brassicas, like my leafy greens. So just to give you all an idea in zone 7B what will thrive during this time of year, I am going to be starting some seeds. Still figuring out, trying to think of which kind. Indoors. I'm going to start some seeds this month indoors. Probably some herbs and some um, perennial or annual flowers that take a long time to grow. I'm still debating. I've already done my garlic. I planted my garlic. I planted my spring bulbs, so I don't need to plant anything else outdoors. I'm just literally just chilling, watch things grow, see how things are hanging in there. So, yeah, probably gonna start some seeds this month. Probably some herbs. So I'll probably do another video on seed starting very, very soon because that is like the thing I'm most looking forward to for next spring or in prep for next spring. So y'all hear all this noise back here. But if you stuck around, thank you for sticking around to watch my YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And as always, happy gardening.